Good morning, my name is Hallie Roberson. Growing up, I always sought out history of people who looked like me. And so I found the civil rights movement, beginning in the 1950s and ending in the 1960s. Do you too seek out the history of your own culture? Today I will be speaking of the leaders of the civil rights movement, their most significant accomplishments, laws created due to their actions, and the impact on the everyday lives of Black Americans today. First, we will begin with the leaders of the movement. One of the leaders we'll discuss today is Martin Luther King Jr. He led several peaceful protests and was a leader on the March of Washington, according to the National Archives. He delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington, uplifting the crowd and encouraging their march to end racial discrimination. He led boycotts, including the Montgomery bus boycott. The next leader we'll discuss today is Rosa Parks. She is most famous for her refusal to give up her seat to a white customer on a public transit bus. This action led to the 1955-1956 Montgomery bus boycott, which desegregated all public transit. And Martin Luther King Jr. was essential in leading this with her. The last leader we'll discuss today is John Lewis. He was a part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, which led sit-ins in southern college towns where Black students were refused service due to the color of their skin. He was also a leader in the march in Selma, Alabama, which was stopped due to police violence. Next, we'll discuss the laws created by the actions of these leaders. Two acts signed into law in the 50s and 60s were a result of brave actions of Black Americans, including those previously mentioned leaders. The Civil Rights Act of 1957 was signed into law by President Dwight Eisenhower to protect voter rights. This allowed for the federal prosecution of people who try to suppress another one's right to vote. This also established the Civil Rights Commission, which had the power to investigate discrimination conditions and suggest corrective action. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson, preventing discrimination in employment due to race, color, sex, religion, or national origin. Title VII established the EEOC to help with discrimination in the workplace. This act also prohibits discrimination because of race and sex in hiring, firing, and promoting. Next, we'll discuss the impact on lives of Black Americans today. Without the leaders who essentially gave their lives to this movement, the presidents that signed these acts into law, I would not be speaking with you in this manner today. Due to the civil rights movement, classrooms remained desegregated. On May 17, 1954, Brown versus Board occurred. It stated that segregation was illegal due to the violation of the 14th Amendment, according to the National Archives. It got rid of the separate but equal precedent that was set earlier in our country's history by Plessy versus Ferguson. The decision allowed me to be in the same room with you today delivering this speech. Also, due to these laws, I can choose any employer. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 allowed persons of color better working opportunities, furthering their progression. Because of this, I am able to support myself and attend school. Without the availability of employment, I would not be delivering this speech today. But let's remember the work it took us to get here. As we come to a close, I want you to recognize the significance of the civil rights movement. As we progress, we discuss the leaders of the civil rights movement, the impact of their actions, and the effects on the later generations of Black Americans in the United States. Leaving here today, we learned about the progress of Black Americans in society since the 1950s, leaders who led this progress and gave their lives to this progress, and the impact on people of color in the United States. I hope you carry this information with you every day and educate others.